tone. Cinematic, reverent, and filled with awe, the wind whispers through the desert. Dust rises with every silent step. A voice echoes in the distance, a voice that once turned fishermen into followers, outcasts into believers, and fear into faith. Visuals. A slow fade from darkness into the golden glow of dawn. The faint outline of a man walking across the sand. The world seems to hold its breath. It began with 12 men, but it was never just about them. Every miracle, every tear, every moment of doubt has led to this. A story that changed hearts, challenged kings, and crossed centuries. Now, the next chapter is near. The world waits once again. For the voice that silenced the storm. Visuals. Flash cuts, a hand reaching out to heal, a tear falling, crowds shouting in awe, Roman soldiers watching from afar. The screen fades to black, then a heartbeat. The journey of faith is not over yet. Music rises with a soft choir, tone, emotional and nostalgic. Visuals. Montage of key moments from previous seasons, from the shores of Galilee to the crowded streets of Jerusalem. His story has reached millions, yet it started in silence, a carpenter's son, walking among ordinary people. The Chosen reminded the world that faith doesn't begin in palaces or temples. It begins in the heart of those who choose to follow. We've watched as the disciples left behind their old lives fishermen, tax collectors, zealots, and outcasts, each drawn by something greater than themselves. They didn't understand it at first. They stumbled, they doubted, and they failed. But through every trial, they grew stronger, because they walked beside the one who called them by name. Visuals. Peter falling to his knees after the miraculous catch. Matthew leaving his coins behind. Mary Magdalene standing beneath the rising sun. What do you see when you look at him? One asked. Everything, another replied. Seasons passed, and the message grew louder. Miracles spread across villages. Crowds followed wherever he went. But so did those who feared him, the leaders, the soldiers, powerful men who couldn't understand how love could threaten their rule. Now, as season 6 approaches, the story turns toward destiny. The road grows darker, and the weight of every word becomes heavier. The Chosen has never been just a show. It's a journey of faith, pain, and hope. Visuals. The disciples walking through narrow streets, torches lighting the night, Jesus looking toward the city from afar. The world has changed, a voice whispers, and so must they. The time of teaching is almost over. The time of sacrifice draws near, and with it, the greatest test of faith the disciples will ever face. Music swells. The screen shows The Chosen, Season 6 title slowly forming from light. The silence before dawn feels heavier now. The same streets that once echoed with laughter and hope now whisper rumors, whispers of fear, betrayal, and change. The light that once drew the crowds has begun to divide them. Some follow with hearts on fire, others with hatred in their eyes. Visuals. Dark clouds over Jerusalem. The disciples moving through a narrow alley, Roman soldiers watching from rooftops. The sound of footsteps echoing, steady, tense. He healed the sick, raised the dead, and gave sight to the blind. But in doing so, he also opened the eyes of those who wished he hadn't. The powerful feel their grip slipping. The priests see their order cracking. And the empire begins to notice a carpenter from Nazareth more than it ever wanted to. Who is this man? They ask. The one who changes everything. The wind seems to answer. The disciples can feel it, the unease in every town, the danger in every glance. They still believe, but belief now costs more than ever. Their faith is tested not by storms or hunger, but by fear. Fear of losing him, fear of losing themselves. Visuals. Matthew clutching his scrolls. Peter arguing with another disciple. Mary kneeling in prayer. The camera lingers on Jesus, silent, his eyes filled with both sorrow and purpose. "Stay with me," he says quietly, even when the world turns away. The crowd that once cheered his name now begins to whisper doubt. The same hands that reached for healing now clutch stones of anger. Every miracle, every word, every act of love It has led to a choice. Follow the light, or hide in the shadows. Music deepens. A faint choir hum builds beneath the narration. The Chosen Season 6 takes us to the edge of faith, where courage meets fear, and destiny begins to unfold. This is not just the continuation of a story. It is the beginning of the greatest sacrifice ever told. Visuals. A flickering torch in the dark. Jesus looking toward Jerusalem from a distant hill. The city glows like a fire waiting to be walked into. The time has come, he whispers, and the world will never be the same. Screen fades to black. The sound of thunder rolls softly. Then silence. The sun sets differently now. Its light feels heavier, like it knows what's coming. The roads that once led to miracles now lead to something greater and far more painful. Each step toward Jerusalem feels like walking into destiny itself. Visuals. A slow shot of Jesus walking through a desert path. The disciples follow behind, tired, unsure, but unwilling to turn back. The wind moves through their robes, like a whisper of fate. The laughter that once filled their campfires has faded. Now, silence travels with them, the kind of silence that comes before the storm. They have seen his power, they have heard his words, but none of them can truly understand what awaits beyond those city walls. He said the Son of Man will be delivered, Thomas mutters. But to who? Peter asks. The camera lingers on Jesus, calm, focused, his eyes set on the horizon. Every miracle has been a message. Every parable, a warning. Every act of love, a preparation for what's to come. The journey to Jerusalem isn't just a walk, it's a test of faith. A path that separates the believer from the bystander. Visuals. Flashbacks. The feeding of the 5,000. Lazarus walking from the tomb, the crowd cheering. Then, quick cuts. Shadows of Roman banners. Angry faces. Soldiers sharpening blades. The road narrows. And the disciples can feel the weight of prophecy pressing against their hearts. Will he rise as king? One asks, or fall as a man? Another whispers they don't know that both are true. The Chosen Season 6 follows this sacred tension, a moment when hope and heartbreak walk side by side. The disciples still dream of victory, but he walks toward sacrifice. They want a throne. He prepares for a cross. Visuals. The gates of Jerusalem in the distance. The city glows under the twilight, beautiful, dangerous, waiting. A soft echo of palm branches brushing against the ground. A faint cheer, Hosanna. But even as the crowd celebrates, the air feels different. Somewhere among them, betrayal watches in silence. Music builds slow strings. Haunting and holy. The journey that began with faith will now demand everything. No turning back. No more questions. Only destiny. The hour has come, he says quietly, and it will be fulfilled. The screen fades to black. A heartbeat. Then the title glows faintly. The Chosen. Season 6. The road to Jerusalem begins. Night falls softly, but it doesn't bring peace. The stars seem dimmer, as if heaven itself knows what's about to happen. The streets are empty, yet danger moves in the shadows. The laughter of the city fades, replaced by whispers. And footsteps that should not be there. Visuals. Slow pan of Jerusalem at night. A single oil lamp flickers. The disciples sleep nearby. One man doesn't. It was never supposed to be this way, he murmurs. Judas walks alone. His hands shake. His eyes are full of confusion, not hatred, not greed, but fear. He tells himself he's doing what's right, that it will all make sense. But deep down, he knows the truth. Some choices can't be undone. Visuals. His footsteps echo through an empty courtyard. The silver coins glint in his hand. A torchlight appears in the distance. The disciples wake to chaos. Shouts, soldiers, betrayal. And in the middle of it all stands Jesus, calm as ever. No resistance. No anger. Only love. Love for the one who betrayed him. Love for the world that doesn't yet understand what it's losing. Friend, he says softly, do what you came to do. The The moment freezes, the kiss, the arrest, the confusion. Hope shatters, and faith trembles. The disciples scatter, their hearts torn between loyalty and fear. The teacher they swore to follow is taken, and heaven seems silent. Music. Strings rise, slow, mournful, like a heartbeat fading. Every story needs a turning point. But this is where love rewrites destiny. He could have called down angels. He could have stopped the suffering, but instead, he chose the cross. No greater love, the voiceover whispers, than to lay down one's life for another. Visuals, the crown of thorns, a silhouette of the cross in the distance. Mary crying in silence, the world holding its breath as the sky grows dark. The Chosen Season 6 is not about loss, it's about purpose. It's about the love that never gave up, even when the world turned away. Visuals, Jesus walking through the shadows. Light still glowing faintly around him. The disciples watching from afar, broken, yet not destroyed. This is not the end, a voice whispers. It's the beginning of everything. The screen fades to black. The sound of the wind fades into silence. Then a single drop of rain hits the ground, echoing like a heartbeat returning. The world feels empty now. The voices are gone, the miracles are just memories, and the air itself feels still, as if creation is holding its breath. The cross stands alone on the hill, and beneath it, silence. Visuals. Morning fog rolls across Golgotha. The disciples are scattered, broken, each carrying the weight of guilt and questions they can't answer. Peter stares at the horizon, his hands trembling. The same hands that once pulled nets full of fish, now shake in shame. Mary kneels in the dust, whispering prayers through tears. Hope, the one thing they built their lives upon, feels lost. How do we follow him, she whispers, when he's no longer here? But even in the silence, something stirs. A faint wind brushes against the olive trees. The same wind that once carried his voice now carries something new. A promise. Music, a soft piano begins, slow. Almost like a heartbeat starting again. The camera lingers on the tomb, cold, sealed, final. Yet the world around it begins to change. The sky grows lighter, the air warmer. Somewhere deep within the stillness, heaven begins to move. He told us this would happen, Matthew whispers, but we didn't understand. The audience can feel it, that invisible shift. The kind of hope that doesn't shout but whispers gently to the broken. A reminder that endings are just beginnings in disguise. Visuals, slow shots, the stone sealed in the tomb. The sunrise pushing back the shadows, a single bird taking flight. The Chosen Season 6 doesn't leave us in the dark. It shows us that faith lives on, even in silence, even in sorrow. The disciples' pain becomes purpose. Their fear turns into courage. Their heartbreak into the beginning of a miracle. He is gone, Thomas says. No, Peter replies softly. He is just not here. The music swells, strings rising, light breaking through clouds. Every loss carries a promise. Every tear holds a truth. And though the world thought it had seen the end, the story of the Chosen is only beginning its greatest chapter. Visuals. The stone begins to tremble. Light seeps through the cracks. The wind grows stronger. The screen fades to white. Then, in silence, a single line appears. The darkest night is only the beginning of the dawn. Music. Choir voices return. Soft, pure, full of hope. The earth trembles. The silence breaks. And in a moment that changes eternity, the impossible becomes real. Visuals. The sealed tomb. Dust falling from the stone. The faint sound of wind, soft at first, then rising, like creation waking up. The light begins to seep through the cracks, glowing brighter, burning away the night. The stone begins to move. Not by hands, not by soldiers, but by something greater. Light floods the darkness. The air hums with life. The world exhales as if it had been waiting for this breath since the beginning of time. He is not here, a voice whispers, for he has risen. Music, the score swells, strings, choirs. And heartbeats blending into something divine, Mary stands before the empty tomb, her tears changing from grief to awe. The disciples rush, confused, breathless, stumbling through disbelief. And then there he is, standing where death once reigned, now clothed in light. "Peace be with you," he says. The same hands once pierced now reach out in love. The same voice once silenced now echoes with power. The one they thought lost is alive. Everything they feared has been rewritten in an instant. Visuals, Jesus appearing before the disciples. The look of shock, the falling to their knees. The moment the world starts again. This is the heartbeat of The Chosen Season 6. The victory not of a king in gold, but of a savior who conquered death through love. The story no longer lives in shadows. It bursts into light. "Do you believe now?" he asks. Thomas touches his hand, trembling. "My Lord and my God." Music rises a full choir now, powerful and uplifting. The resurrection isn't just the end of sorrow. It's the beginning of purpose renewed. The disciples no longer run from fear. They rise with fire. The world that once mocked now trembles in wonder. Hope, once buried, walks among them again. Visuals, the disciples embracing. Children laughing. The sun, rising over Jerusalem. "Tell the world," Jesus says, because the story doesn't end here. The screen brightens, light expanding until everything is washed in white. Then slowly, the title fades in. The Chosen. Season 6. The light has risen. Music fades to a single, sustained note. Calm, endless, eternal. The story began with a whisper, and now it echoes across the world. What started with 12 has become millions. Every nation, every language, every heart that once searched for meaning now feels the weight of these words. He chose us. Visuals. Global montage, hands lifted in prayer. Families watching The Chosen, candles flickering in churches, people smiling through tears. The world illuminated not by power, but by faith. The disciples who once feared the darkness now walk boldly into the light. Their footsteps mark the beginning of a movement that will never die. Their story, his story, continues to awaken something deep within us all. "Go into all the world," his voice echoes, "and tell them what you have seen." And they did. They still do. Because The Chosen was never just a show, it became a calling. A reminder that faith isn't ancient history. It's alive, breathing, and burning, brighter than ever. Music builds, the same melody from the first season returns. Slower, grander, filled with emotion. The screen fades from scenes of the disciples spreading hope to the logo, The Chosen Season 6 visuals. Cross silhouettes fade into morning light. The city of Jerusalem glows at sunrise. The text appears slowly, almost reverently. Coming, insert release month and year. The wait is almost over, the narrator whispers. The story that changed history returns. Music swells to its final crescendo, a mix of choir, drums, and strings, before cutting to complete silence. Visuals, Jesus' silhouette fades into light. A final quote appears on screen. He chose them then. He chooses us now. Next on screen. Watch exclusively on the Chosen app and Angel Studios. Subscribe for updates. #The Chosen Season 6 music returns faintly hopeful. Gentle, eternal. The screen fades to white. A final heartbeat. Then black. Because the story was never about them. It was always about him.